Yo, what's up, people? I'm your host, Jay Will, and I would like to welcome you to Inspire God's People, where we balance faith and business to guide you to your purpose. I just want to talk a little bit about crypto. Uh, this is under the Death to Poverty kind of series that I'm doing, and you're going to see a lot more of these videos where we focus on finance under that hashtag Death to Poverty, so you can easily find where I'm talking about money, wealth, financial freedom. All right, so I know there's been a lot of news that people like to follow as it relates to the president and politics. Listen, put your politics aside. This is about being a critical thinker and about somebody like myself who's been interested in the financial industries for some years now, right? So I want to talk a little bit about two things, which is first, the strategic Bitcoin reserve. If you have not heard, President Trump signed an executive order yesterday that sets up America for a strategic I can talk, people. I don't even have my little mug right here. Strategic Bitcoin reserve. I'm going to talk a little bit about exactly what that means. We're going to actually read through kind of the White House press release. That's what I like to do when certain things come out that I'm interested in. I like to actually read exactly what they say so I can understand some of the details beyond the headline. And then secondly, we're going to talk about the White House Crypto Summit that actually just happened about an hour or two ago. Not too long ago, President Trump hosted the first crypto summit at the White House, brought in about 30 of the brightest minds in the digital asset space. We're going to talk about some of what I saw, a couple of my notes there, just to react to some of those things, but also keep you to speed on what's happening in the world financially. As we know, all these other headlines, a lot of times, in my personal opinion, I feel serve as distractions for everyday people as the rich get richer. You know what I'm saying? But you can get rich too, or at least you can go from $0 to $10, $10 to 100. Let's look at it like that. It ain't about being rich. All right, but first things first, let's jump into sharing the screen and looking at this. Where are we gonna start? We're gonna start with the White House press release here. Let's look at this. All right. So this is what the White House put out yesterday. Fact sheet. President Trump establishes the strategic Bitcoin reserve and U.S. digital asset stockpile. I'm going to talk a little bit in a second about why that's important, but let's read through it first before I give that reaction. Creating a strategic Bitcoin reserve and digital asset stockpile today, President Trump signed an executive order to establish this reserve and U.S. digital asset stockpile, positioning the United States as a leader among nations in government digital asset strategy. Interesting. All right, let's see some of what they're talking about. The order creates a strategic Bitcoin reserve that will treat Bitcoin as a reserve asset. The strategic, I can't talk, Bitcoin reserve will be capitalized with Bitcoin owned by the Department of Treasury that was forfeited as part of criminal or civil asset forfeiture proceedings. All right, United States will not sell Bitcoin deposited into this strategic Bitcoin reserve. That's important. And then the secretaries of Treasury and Commerce are authorized to develop Bitcoin neutral strategies for acquiring additional Bitcoin. So we got a couple of things happening here already, where, as you see, it is about, it is about A, there's this strategic Bitcoin reserve. B, I could talk, I promise. America wants to establish themselves as leaders in this category, which is a very different position and perspective versus the previous administration. We'll talk about that in a second. America will not sell their Bitcoin. Did I say that already? That's a huge thing. And then this Bitcoin is really just about having a reserve based on Bitcoin that's been forfeited or seized from criminals and things like that, right? So let's take a step back and digest a couple of these things. Oh, the last part I thought was interesting too, which was the Secretary of Commerce, I think it said, is kind of tasked with coming up with strategies on how to buy additional Bitcoin. All right, so what does all that mean? In a nutshell, I just gave you a lot, but let's kind of dissect a little bit of it. First things first, Let's look at like the administration change specifically as it relates to crypto. Okay, so I know that politics is super explosive and people are challenged sometimes to talk about things without emotions, but this is separate from who you voted for and why. These are just factual statements about the way that the previous administration approached crypto versus this new administration. So in short, the previous administration was very anti-crypto. They had what was called the anti-crypto army. They were very vocal about the fact that they did not support or want to push forward cryptocurrency or Bitcoin. It's important to kind of state that a lot of the cryptocurrency community, a lot of people who own these cryptocurrencies it's largely libertarian. I don't know the percentage. I just know that that's generally kind of the demographic, if you will, kind of part of the makeup of people who are invested in crypto. They're about kind of freedoms, like let me do what I want to do and you leave me alone, right? And we know I don't want to get into all the politics of that, but that's kind of their position. The previous administration, Biden administration, they just were not friends of crypto. And they had Gary Gensler as the head of the SEC. And the way that they kind of expressed their dislike for crypto was they went out and they sued a lot of people, right? So they would sue all of these big crypto companies like a XRP, like Coinbase. A lot of these people, some who were in that room with Trump today, they have been going through litigations with the SEC and the previous administration. Now, let me just kind of say real quick, the reason for those litigations and the reason it's a problem is because no one has actually set out a lot of rules or a framework for how cryptocurrency companies are supposed to be acting. And so basically, when there's no rules, imagine you driving on the freeway and the police pull you over and say you went over the speed limit. And he say, well, where's the speed limit sign? And they say, well, we haven't put one up yet, but you went over it. That's essentially how the previous administrator treated crypto owners. And this caused a lot of crypto companies to go abroad. Singapore, as an example, is a place where a lot of them are headquartered. It's a huge cryptocurrency place. So with all of that being said, as you can imagine, President Trump went on his campaign trail to Nashville, I believe it was in September, at the Bitcoin conference. There's a Bitcoin conference that happens every year, and there's a lot of important people in Bitcoin. He went to this conference. He made all these promises like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to fire Gary Gensler, and we're going to get regulation and all of that. So a lot of what you see him doing is fulfilling his promises that he made on his campaign trail. So now what does that mean about today? Today, that means that by signing in this strategic Bitcoin reserve, in addition to other executive orders that he's already made around crypto, in addition to the fact that a lot of the folks that he's assigned in his administration are pro-crypto individuals, as you can imagine, those drastic changes are very welcoming to the cryptocurrency community. So now it's been a complete 180, right? Where as we get to today, the crypto summit at the White House, where Trump actually brings in not all, 30, so I saw some of the top people. I saw Brian Armstrong, who's the CEO of Coinbase. I saw, I can't think of his name, but he's the head of Chainlink. I saw the Winklevoss twins who have Gemini. I saw Michael Saylor, who's kind of like the biggest pro-Bitcoin maximalist in the world. So those were just some of the faces I saw in the room. So if you can imagine, these same people that were facing litigation and didn't have regulatory clarity under the previous administration now are being welcomed into the White House. And at even one point, one of the Winklevoss twins made a statement, and he said, he referenced the fact that I never would have thought a year ago I would be here. I thought it would be more likely I would be going to jail because they were sending a lot of crypto people to jail, or again, suing them and threatening them with jail. And so now you have a different situation. So that, I know that was a lot, but hopefully that helps you kind of get up to speed to what's going on? So now everything has changed for the cryptocurrency community. And now the CEOs and the people in that world are being welcomed by the leaders of the free world. Now, here's a couple of things that was said in the summit. This is kind of give you a little more idea around what does that mean now? The first thing is that if you know, I'm not going to get into what stable coins are if you don't know, but stable coins are really cryptocurrencies that just stay stagnant at $1. And it's a really important multi-trillion dollar, if I'm not mistaken, portion of cryptocurrency. I don't know if I'm right on the multi-trillion or not, so don't hold me to that. But I know that it's at least projected to be that. It's a very important part of cryptocurrency because if it is established and pegged to the dollar, then it actually keeps the U.S. dollar as the dominant currency in the world globally. And that was actually said today. That was something that was one of the talking points that was mentioned. Is like, hell, we're going to use stable coins to leverage making the dollar, keeping the dollar as the king of currency. So that was one of the things that I saw. The other thing was regulatory clarity. So they talked about how, hey, we want innovation. Trump talked about like, we want to be the leaders in this industry. And in order to do that, we have to give clear regulatory guidance to the innovators in the space. So you can imagine if you are an innovator, you own a cryptocurrency. Now what's happening is they're starting to develop some speed limits. Again, before it was like, I'm scared to drive on this road because they don't have speed limit signs up, but they like to pull people over. And that's how the Biden administration treated crypto. Whether you love it or hate it, I'm not here for all that. These are just the facts. And so you've seen this change. And one of the last things was regulatory clarity, embracing innovation, this idea that they would never sell the Bitcoin. That's a huge one for cryptocurrency people. Now, let me also tell you why this strategic reserve for a lot of people is not necessarily what they wanted. Okay. Cryptocurrency, I mean, like a lot of industries, I guess, is very they very focused on headlines. So very narratives and news. If some good news comes out today, it could make Bitcoin go to 110,000. If some bad news comes out, it can make it go to 70,000. It's just a very volatile space. And people are very stressed out because the past few years in crypto has been very tough. And it's been a lot of uncertainty. People want their investments to skyrocket. And so part of why this strategic Bitcoin reserve, hasn't, I guess, made Bitcoin go to 150,000. I mean, I would have thought a couple years ago, you get some news like this, it would have been insane. And I'm looking at the markets like nothing is happening today. That's very interesting to me. But I think the market sentiment and the people in it have changed a lot. And that's because with this strategic Bitcoin reserve, they're not really buying anything else. So any additional Bitcoin today. So if you look at it, it's like, all right, we're going to take the Bitcoin that we already seized from criminals in the past, and we just going to put it over here in a vault. I'm speaking hypothetically. We're going to put it over here in a vault, and we're just not going to spend it. And that's our reserve. Now, one of the interesting things that it did say in there is that, hey, I think the Secretary of Commerce, if I'm not mistaken, is tasked with finding strategies to acquire additional Bitcoin. My perspective on this is that this is the framework. Most people don't get excited when the frames of a building are being built, right? So think of a new construction building and like you got the foundation laid and now we got the frames up. And it's like the building isn't pretty yet. And that's why people, in my opinion, have not reacted in this crazy positive way. But I definitely believe this is a positive long-term, maybe short-term. I'm not a person that tries to act like I know what Bitcoin is going to do from day to day, because at the end of the day, it's a very volatile asset. And I just believe we're watching the structure and the framework be built. And I think long-term, this is going to be really good for holding Bitcoin. But again, that's not financial advice because, like I said, some bad news could come out today and it could go down to 70,000. Some great news could come out today and it can go to 110. That's just the nature of this investment. But what I find interesting overall is that we've definitely come a long way. I could tell you 2.5 years ago, people were asking me like, isn't Bitcoin a scam when I would talk about it? Isn't this a scam? And to see people at the White House, to see the United States of America have goals and targets to be the leader in the space, it just really reminds me of something like the internet being born or social media, the rise of social media. I think we're just in those stages where we're going to look up in 5 to 10 years, and a lot of people are going to be mad that they missed these investment opportunities because they were afraid of volatility. The reality of it is nobody could protect you from the volatility. I don't know what's going to happen in the short term. I believe in the long term, this is going to be massive. And I think what will end up happening is nobody's getting excited about the frames and the foundation being laid. But this is going to set us up for long-term success, because ultimately, again, in the Biden administration, you had people fighting more than actually championing the cryptocurrency community. And so looking at the people that were in that room, some of the most influential and brightest minds, my perspective is I think crypto might be changing. I could be very wrong about this. So do not take this as like whatever. This is just off the top of my head thoughts. I think crypto is changing and becoming something different, meaning something more established, something more mature, right? Where it used to be this run and gun thing. I definitely think it's still a run and gun aspect to it. But I think the top cryptos, you look at the top, 50 list, is probably 20 of those that are becoming young adults right before our eyes. I think of like Chainlink, and I think of even Coinbase as a company, obviously Bitcoin. So I just think there's a lot of maturity happening in the space as I see, companies like BlackRock and Fidelity and all these companies start getting involved. I think what we're going to see now that the president has come out and start laying a framework, you're going to probably start seeing in the next few years, Bitcoin in your bank account. Your bank is going to be selling it to you. All these things will happen. No different than when email came. I'll say this and I'll shut up because this video is going a little long. I think about email. What is email? When people are trying to understand what Bitcoin is, it's like, what's email? It's electronic mail. It just meant that we spent more time on the internet. So as the internet and the digital spaces become your home, there's a faster way to reach you in that home, in that digital space. You're carrying your phone around, carrying your laptop around. That's something you're more connected to. And now if someone wants to send you a letter, they don't have to write it and put a stamp on it and wait 3 days for it to get to your home. They could just instantly send you a message in seconds. That is what Bitcoin is to currency. Now, Bitcoin is a digital way, as you spend more time on the internet, as you're in the digital world, to have currency to pay for things very quickly, instantaneously, right? It's also a store of value, and something that people kind of use as digital gold, right? Somewhere that people like to place money just so it can grow in value over time. So you have this dual nature of like, I can just hold my money in this digital bank, in this digital space, and kind of have it sit there and grow over time the same way I would have gold in a vault. And then it's also a currency, like email is electronic mail. It's electronic currency that you could just send instantly, and lower fees is a real part of it, because somebody might say, I could send Cash App or I could send Apple Pay. There's a lot of things behind the scenes with your bank and processing with the ledger where those things aren't as instantaneous as you think. And there's a lot of fees added onto them. As you get into stable coins and things, those fees are going to go down drastically. With Bitcoin, fees down drastically. And Bitcoin will probably not be used as much as a currency as it will be a store of value. That's where stable coins will come in, and you'll probably see those being more so used as currencies on different blockchains. But my point at the end of the day is the same way email didn't make real mail go away, and you kind of use both. And email isn't perfect because you get spam and you need a bunch of different folders, and you can get scammed on the internet through email and phishing attacks. So there are watch outs and risk whenever new technology is birthed and new things come about. But I don't think that means all other money is going to go away. I don't think it means Apple Pay is going to go away or all those things. I think it means you have something different and something that is going to live largely in the electronic space. In my regular mailbox, I still get 1,000 pieces of mail that I don't need. And sometimes they're duplicative to what I get in my email. So email didn't make regular mail go away. I think the same thing for cryptocurrencies. They won't make other currencies go away, but it's like this, they will become a huge thing, and kind of grow over the next few years. And I think for people who have invested but understand investing is risky, who have invested, that over time it'll probably pay off if you invested in the right things. And that is the tricky part, because there's a lot of different investments you can make in the digital space, and not all of them I don't think will work out. But I think, I look around in the room, the people who are in the White House, those are some of the most connected people and organizations. And I would think, again, as a guest, Maybe Chainlink is going to be something. I like Coinbase. I really like Coinbase. That's more of a stock, but I like it because it's a stock, but it's a crypto play in a lot of ways. So it's a financial play. So at the end of the day, my point with this is that I think it's really important for us to understand some of the changes and things that are happening in the world, even if we don't like them. This isn't me telling you to like cryptocurrency or Bitcoins or digital assets, because I don't like every aspect of them myself. But this is happening. We are in it, and I find it quite intriguing to kind of study something in real time, and then I'll be able to go in the future and look back and see, was I right? Was I wrong? Like, because imagine doing videos about email in 1999. I don't know. You might have sounded weird trying to explain what's really simple to people now. At the end of the day, things are changing in the financial industry. We haven't seen some big jump. I think the tariffs are playing a huge play on that. The other thing I want to talk about is like the digital asset stockpile real quick, which is basically just other cryptocurrencies that have been seized from criminals that will live kind of in a different kind of bucket or reserve or stockpile. So look, things will get interesting. Things will change. I think there will be more to come with this. I think in the short term, it could be bad news. Anything can happen. This is no guarantee that cryptos are just going to go up to the moon overnight. But I just think as I look out and project over time, I see just through, I don't want to call it common sense, just common reasoning. I just don't know how this doesn't go up in the next 3 to 5 years, like tremendously. The right ones. Some of them will go to zero, and that is challenging, and that's why you have to be educated. You can't just buy stuff because somebody on the internet said buy it. But I love following this type of stuff. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Look, man, please do like, share, subscribe, Inspire God's People on YouTube. Check us out on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And y'all have an amazing day, man. We still doing the Bitcoin challenge. I'm buying $20 of Bitcoin every single week, no matter what the price is, all year long. And you should, I ain't gonna say you should do it too. You can do it too. If you do, I'd be curious to see. This is just a project, an experiment to see what happens if I buy $20 in Bitcoin every single week, no matter what the price is, after 1 year, and look at that price. Look,